Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have the very last of the instructional videos, which is a press to handstand, a straddle press to handstand. So I filmed these videos when I was in America and I just got so busy and forgot that I actually had that content. If you are watching this right now, clearly you are on the path to a press to handstand. This video just goes through all of my main drills and tips and things like that that will help you progress and get your press to handstand. Now, firstly, press to handstand is a very hard drill. You do need to build up a long time worth of training, of strength, of mobility, of all these different aspects of the actual skill. So make sure that you're putting the time and effort into this and you're not just expecting it to happen over 1, 2, 3 weeks. It is a monthly/yearly thing. You have to work for it. So yeah, let's get started. So very first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get into a stretch, because obviously a straddle press to handstand is going through a straddle stretch. So if you don't have a good straddle, we need to make sure that we're stretching that out. So we're just gonna do a straddle sit, rocking from side to side, sitting into a straddle stretch, leaning over to one side, and then going over to the other. Then we're going to reach into the middle, go as flat as possible. So we really want to be sort of opening up through the chest, dropping through the hips rather than hunching over your body. So reaching forward as far as you can and then coming up. If you are at the stage or at the flexibility that you can do an overstretch, you can do so by getting a roller, any sort of yoga block, anything like that, something elevated. Place one of your heels up on that elevated surface and then lean into the middle. Obviously, the better your straddle is, the easier it's going to be flexibility wise for you to get through that straddle position. So really working on your stretching. Once you've done one side, then you can move on to the next. Now we're going to get our hip flexors nice and warm. So we're just going to do some leg raises in your straddle position, making sure that you're hunching over through your chest and you're not leaning back and forcing your leg to come up. So we're using our hip adductors and also our quads needing to be activated to lift the legs. So you're working the quad activation side of that skill, and then you're also doing hip flexor strength as well. After you've done that, I'm just going through some straddle slide throughs. So you do start in a pike position, legs in front of you. You push using your glute muscles, your legs out to the side through a straddle, and you try and push all the way through until you're lying on your stomach. So you'll see that my hips come up quite a little bit when I go through. That's because my side split wasn't very warmed up. Make sure you warm up all parts of your hips, including side split, because you are going through that. And do this a couple of times until you feel comfortable with that movement. If you aren't as flexible as I am or others that can do this rather flat, don't stress, just come up, use your hands to push yourself up through that sticky part and continue with the drill. Next one we're going to do is like a downward dog in a straddle. You're going to drop through the elbows and then push up with the hands again. So it's sort of like a tricep push up in a downward dog position. We're just getting our shoulders warmed up, our arms warmed up, everything for that lean forward in your straddle press. Okay, so we've gone through the stretching side of things. Now we're going to go through a core activation / workout before we get into our presses. These sort of activation strength drills are going to really increase how your press to handstand comes out as the skill when you go to train it later. So the very first one that we're going to do are straddle V-ups. So what you're going to do is you're going to start laying flat on the ground, arms up above your head, legs out in front of you. You're going to come up, meet halfway in the middle and come through a straddle. So you're straddling your legs, your hands come through your straddled legs, and then you return back down to first position, which is lying flat on the ground. You're going to do at least 10 to 20 of these reps until you can feel that core burning, and then we'll move on to the next exercise. Next drill that we're going to do is going to involve a ball, a yoga ball. So what we're going to do is place your legs up on the yoga ball, make sure majority of your weight is in your hands in a front support / plank position, and we're going to slowly do a reverse V-up. So we're sticking our bum in the air, bringing our legs in as close to our hands as possible and controlling it back down. Same thing, we're working the core. This is actually the strength that you do use not only in your shoulders but in your core for your straddle press to handstand. So this one's super important. Now that we've done those strength drills, we're moving on to our compression drills. So this is for not only just entering your press to handstand, but also coming down in your dismount from a press to handstand. So from a handstand down to a straddle, your return of that skill. And pretty much what we're trying to do is we're really trying to compress the space between the quads and the chest. So you're going to kick up to the wall, legs on the wall, hands nice and relatively close. You're going to push your shoulders in as close to the wall as possible. We're going to come down in a straddle position, and when you get to that sticky part, we're going to really try and compress between the chest and the legs. So really try and close that gap and come down as slow as we can to touch the ground. Once you've done that, you can kick back up. Whether you want to kick up from a normal handstand kick up, just like a left or right leg in front, kick up to the wall, or whether you want to actually straddle jump up, I don't mind, because the most important part is actually that negative control of the press down through the straddle position. So we're going to do a couple of them as well. I would recommend 10 to 20 reps of all of these drills when you are doing this workout or you are training up for your press to handstand. Obviously, the more you do, the stronger you're going to get. So if you find that 10 to 20 drills or reps of these aren't doing anything for you, then you can up that amount of reps. Next drill is actually one of my favorite ones. So this is the drill that you're gonna really feel like you're actually getting somewhere with your press. So you're gonna start with your feet on an elevated surface. I use the box for this specific drill, and my hands were placed on the ground. So I had maybe like 1 or 2 inches off the ground of elevation that could help me in my press. What you're going to do is, when you feel comfortable in that straddle sit where your hands are on the ground and your feet are on the elevated surface, you're going to lean forward with your shoulders. This is the strength component of your straddle press to handstand. Now, as soon as your shoulders go forward, you may feel like you want to collapse. That's when you're going to build strength, so make sure you push through that. And we're going to try and slowly elevate our feet off of that box. If you struggle to do that and you're really finding that impossible to do, then I want you to focus on only lifting one heel up from the ground. This isn't something that I would want to teach anyone, because then you get used to kicking up with one leg or pressing up with one leg, but it is going to help you understand the idea of being able to push your shoulders forward enough that you don't have much weight in those feet and you can press and lift them off the box. So we're not going too much, we're just trying to get our toes off for a slight second and return back down. Again, 10 to 20 reps, try and get that feel, try and understand the weight shift between what weight is in your feet and the weight that goes into your hands. Ultimately, you will have a split second or two where all of the weight is in your hands and you're sort of just dangling there with your feet above the box in the slightest sense. With this drill, if you are struggling to get your feet off and you've tried the one leg up and it's just a little bit too hard, try and have a go at rocking forward and back. So that rocking forward will create momentum for you to be able to lift your legs up. We don't want to jump, because ultimately anyone can jump into a straddle handstand. The idea with the press is that it has to be controlled, and a jump doesn't allow that to happen. So rocking back and forth and still doing the same thing, even if you go from heel to toe and then pop up for a split second, return back down, that's what we want. We want that controlled up and down without having to bend the knees and jump and put pressure into that box. As you start to progress and get better and better at that drill, you want to start trying to bring your feet off a little bit higher. So obviously the higher they go, the closer you are to your straddle press to handstand. So as you progress, like I said, get a little bit higher and higher, and then the next drill actually links in with this a little bit. So now we're going to go onto the floor, into our straddle position, into our starting of our straddle press to handstand position. And we're going to do some toe taps. So you're going to do the same momentum thing where you're leaning forward in your shoulders, allowing your whole body to sit over your wrists. And then you're going to lift up your bum, use your core, use that weight transfer to lift your feet up, touch your toes towards the insides of your wrists, and then return back down to the ground. So you guys will be able to see this in the video, but what we want to do, obviously mine's a little bit higher, a little bit more controlled than what yours may look like, just because I have that control and strength already. But what you're trying to do, again, use that split second to touch your toes to your wrist, return back down to the ground. When you get better and better, you'll have more control and more time to really slow that down and feel every movement that you're making. Once you've spent at least a couple weeks, couple months, it's different for everyone, doing these specific drills, then you will have a nice clean straddle press to handstand. When you do get to that point where you get 1 or 2, make sure you're repping it out as many times as possible. Keep up that consistency in the skill, and then you will have that skill for the rest of your life. It's one of those things where you're combining so many parts together that when you do make it muscle memory, you will have it for a long time. Progressing from here is the shoulder press, a lot harder because you do start down from the ground. That is something that I personally am still working on getting consistent. However, once you've got your straddle press, then you can go into the training and things that need working on to then progress to that shoulder press to handstand. That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more informative videos as well as personal lifestyle stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching. I really hope you got something out of this video, and I'll see you on the next one.